This is Mark Aylis. I'm calling to order the August 14th, 2025 meeting of the Concord Transportation Advisory Committee. Start with a roll call here. Nick Pappas, Dan Schrager, Bill Posner here, myself, Mark Aylis. So that's a quorum. I don't see anybody else coming online, so this meeting is being recorded. And practice has been also posted later for viewing. Before we get on to the agenda and approve minutes, do I have any volunteers to take minutes? We have, I know that Ellen in the last one. Yeah, I think, okay, that's great. Great.
Thank you, Nick.
Yes, much appreciated. So we have a set of minutes to approve. For the for the last meeting, the July 15th. Did anybody have correction or amendment?
No.
No. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for July 15th, 2025.
Oh, me. Second.
Okay, Nick,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Okay. All right, so next item on the agenda is chair's report. And let me mention a couple of things. One of them is that at the select board meeting this last Monday night over at the light plant, Alan Cathcart, Director of Public Works, and Elisa Sandoval, the Director of Community Development, briefed the select board on progress being made for coordination on transportation issues between the various committees and staff groups. What she also sent me a note, Ms. Sandoval sent me a note saying that there's internal meetings going on, reviewing and proposing more transparency and communication on the internal staff traffic management group and reviewing ways to account for projects and prioritize. The plan is to convene again September, October sometime, including TAP with a proposal for revised process. And with regard to the comprehensive transportation strategy planning work with Stantec, there was a plan to schedule a joint meeting with TAC and Stantec to review a draft of goals, needs, and proposed solutions. Probably end of October, it's looking like. Dates will be reviewed with Stantec, and will be informed, TAC will be informed about scheduling. There's also in the works a plan for a public forum related to the transportation strategy work, probably in November. I also want to mention that on the TAC page, there is a link to a form for members of the public to write to TAC and send suggestions. And we do have, it's called the online form submittal. And I have two communications. One of them was from Deborah Thornburg, talking about pedestrian safety between the two entrances to the Concord Carlisle High School. This is something that's kind of been come up before. And the second one was from Wick Sloan, and it has to do with pedestrians and cyclists not paying attention at crossings in the West Concord area. The people are failing to stop and look, and so generally crosswalk safety concerns expressed there. So right now, I don't think we have a way of a process of collecting and posting these things, but I think this is one of the things that's going to be worked out together with traffic management group, et cetera, and desire for greater transparency. That was also brought up at the select board meeting, and I believe Nick had made a public comment at a previous select board meeting about one of the things the public wants is to know that their concerns and inputs have been heard and logged and moved into the process of prioritizing projects. Okay,
So can I make a suggestion regarding that?
well, why don't we wait till we're gonna, the
Sure.
third discussion item on the agenda is exactly that. So let's get to a few other things. Okay, I think unless I remember something else, I think that's the chair's report. So the first discussion item is to review and discuss an educational bicycle safety flyer. So I will pull up the flyer if I might. Let me make sure let me get the document first.
Is that link on our page new?
There's been one there historically. I don't know if it got lost for a while or not, but when we first set up TAC, there was a place that the public could submit comments. or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's a little bit inconspicuous, and it was only as of a week ago that the emails came to me automatically. But again, where those should pass on and plug in and all that, you know, everybody should switch. Yes, I think that would be a good idea.
Right word.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let me see if I can go back to Zoom. And. What's it doing? Oh, here we are. So, share screen. Sharing. Okay, so this was posted on the town website, this draft, and I want to hear if members have comments or whatever. I also actually, if you would like to speak about the timing and whether I noticed that were mention of some other communities and this Great Meadows Public Health Collaborative, could you give us some background?
Certainly,
Okay.
Melanie Janine, Public Health Director. I came to, the TAC meeting last time as, listening. And there's been some talk in the community and at TAC and also through our public health needs assessment about safety. So I asked, Great Meadows Public Health Collaborative is a regional, I don't know if you've heard of the Safe 2.0 state, and Concord belongs to this collaborative.
Mhm.
So, through this collaborative, we have some people that are, I would say, available to work on flyers and public health communications. So I asked them to develop a bicycle safety flyer. Did not give it as much, specific direction, but specifically said with the rules of the road, knowing that people are concerned about the safety. And this is not intended to be a 2-pager. It's one version, and turn the page, it's another version where we took out the first one has like a small section that's about drivers. I shared this with Elisa, my director of the Sandoval, Elizabeth Hughes, for feedback from Ron Holsinger, just to, it's a draft, right? It's a starting point. And get some feedback and then wanted to share it with you for your feedback. If you wanted to have feedback, if you don't, that's up to you. And see if this is something that you feel targets a audience, or if it's the wrong audience, stuff like that. The other two pieces of paper are more designed specifically for smart social media. Those have to have a different format, more pictures, less words type of thing. So that's what those are. There was 2 documents. One,
Is that the 2-page draft?
the 2-pager is just 2 pages of the same thing. I just took out one, it's a little pretty wordy, and I was trying to figure out
So it's like one or the other.
Correct.
Some
Or you like-
modified version.
Or a modified version. One has specific drivers share the road base and that sub on the first, this one takes that out.
Okay, yeah, let's.
So can we basically get at this online and look at it and then respond? Cause
If you want to,
Yeah, it's posted on the TAC website.
It is.
Currently.
Heather sent it around, I think.
And Heather, I believe, sent it, yeah, it's
Oh,
over around.
yeah,
And,
okay.
and so what kind of timeline do you have? Because I think there's probably a lot of informational input and, communication related input and, practical experience of different, people, including.
all of this is like a starting point. I mean, Phil has sent me a good amount of other information, this week. I think, I guess. What I'm hearing is that, is there a specific target audience? Is there a specific goal? From this group, and even if you're interested in doing this, right? If you're saying, no, we don't wanna, go do your thing, Melanie, TAC's not interested, that's kind of your, as a committee, right?
Mhm.
Well, I think we've encountered this sort of thing a lot about cycling, a lot of interested issues that come up, so I think we have.
That's what I'm hearing, so I decided to start somewhere
Yeah.
and get feedback.
Very good.
In my experience, it's easier to criticize than come up with new, right? But maybe not, maybe I was off base there, but I was trying to say, okay, here's some ideas. What are you interested in?
Give us a deadline for giving you feedback, cause that'll just, otherwise it'll figure out.
I mean, I would like, if you could do it by next meeting, I mean, if you want a finished product by next meeting, then you need a tighter deadline. If you wanna discuss. Sometimes there's a fine line between technically correct, graphically appeasing, and the people's opinions. I don't wanna. I wanna be accurate, I wanna represent your goals, but some people might like one graphic versus another, well, then I want something you all can agree on, if you wanna support it.
Okay, a comment related to this, which is that it's been in my mind for a while. This is obviously something that's needed conceptually, it's needed. There's also something needed for pedestrians.
Yeah, and that's,
I am freaked out by pedestrians who walk on roads without sidewalks, walking in the same direction as the traffic with their backs to the oncoming traffic. When I was a kid, there were public service announcements saying not to do that.
so one concept, I chatted with Phil yesterday about having, it's not a one and done type of campaign, maybe we have bike and then we have pedestrian,
Yes.
back to school, and you have like if you dump a whole bunch of things out at once.
Yeah,
people
no,
are
I think,
overloaded.
I'm just saying,
So-
I think there's need for pedestrians too.
I-
Cross at the crosswalk, freaks me out when they jump out from between cars and there's a crosswalk 50 feet away.
I think there's a lot there
Yeah,
to
yeah.
talk about, certainly with
That's
Mr. Holsinger, like what's going on, the community, the schools, like I think, and then, yes, I do think we could do a pedestrian. Again, and what I learned is like, what's the target, explain the rules, what is the audience? Are we looking for youth? Are we educating adults?
So you got that written down, was what you had as the goals in doing this?
No, I made it up.
Okay.
Which is, maybe not, I'm trying not to speak. I guess I didn't know what TAC specifically wanted. What I heard last time, I thought I heard, was there's a need for bicycle safety communication in the community. There's some concerns, and about the rules of the road and people watching out for bicyclists. It's a mixed bag. So that's the direction I gave. But when you look at this, you may have some other ideas based on your experience and knowledge that you say, hey, maybe it's 4 different flyers with different goals, because this is a lot. Like people were first, the only criticism I've received is this is too much.
So my observation so far is, without looking at this in detail, is whenever these issues come up, whether it's bicycles or pedestrians, it's, as they say, a two-way street. There's issues with the drivers with relation, how the drivers behave and how it affects bicycles, and how the bicyclists behave, how it affects drivers.
Yep.
It's exactly the same with the pedestrians, right? It's obvious how drivers can do bad things to pedestrians, but it's also obvious how pedestrians sometimes do stupid things that put themselves at risk.
Mhm.
So in both cases, there are two audiences you'd be
I agree.
talking to.
Yeah.
right?
Actually, I had the sense that there were three, because my first blush, I didn't see enough for drivers.
Right, and that is a different campaign, like that's what I've kind of learned through the first page, is like, oh, wait a minute. Some people reading this, the
Well-
feedback, is this, oh, that's intended for drivers, so maybe there's a drivers be aware campaign, that's different.
I think that if you put them separately, if the issue is bicycles and you have a separate campaign for drivers and bicycles and a separate one for bicyclists. When I see the bicyclist one, I'm gonna say, well, what about the drivers? Why are you laying it all on me? Right?
Yeah.
I think that you have to be even-handed in the communication. You
Right.
have to be talking, you have to make it clear to both audiences that you're talking to both audiences. Otherwise,
Well,
that's my thought.
yeah, I mean, I agree that this is important. I agree that there are different target audiences, and we're talking about, the old idea of collaboration and sharing
The road.
the space and sharing the road, right? And there's a lot of even communication needs to be done. We all know, you pick up body language. You say that car, if you're driving, that car in front of me is acting strange. They may hit the brakes, and cyclists and pedestrians can be aware of motor vehicles or not aware of motor vehicles. And they are more agile in terms of moving sideways, and being unpredictable from a motor's point of view, acting in a way that indicates your intention is part of sharing the road. So there are a lot of things, and I think also, I mean, Phil, sent me a note that he thought there needed to be a lot of edits, and it sounded like he's giving you some good input. There's also questions of what is the law versus what is perceived best practice by people, and also what is local knowledge about. We're in a little different position than, Manhattan or Cambridge or something, in terms of what really is immediately rises to the top as concerns, maybe. We have a lot of narrow roads. I think it'd be helpful to, I like the idea of saying that it's a continuing campaign with multiple kind of communications, because that keeps people interested. I think it's a tough choice about having a bicycle focused one versus having it involve everybody, because it really is collaborative. But one might be useful would be to not immediately go to a presentation format, but kind of write down some of these goals and have a background kind of not exactly policy, but like program outline, informative document. And I think TAC members can individually send things in. If we're not we could try, if we want something fast, we could try to.
We have your deadline, like,
thumbs up.
I'm not there's no timeline that I
I
have.
think it's a very big topic because, without having read it. There's the issue of bicycles on sidewalks. Is it okay or isn't it?
Yes,
Is
that's
it okay on
another
some
issue.
sidewalks and not
Yes.
other sidewalks?
Yes.
What is that? What's the
Well, you're
story?
teaching a little kid in a 12-inch
Yeah,
tire to.
I have no judgment on it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a complex area and
Yeah.
there's so many topics like that. That it's easy to forget how big the space is and how many things, which speaks to the fact, again, of maybe a long campaign with many communications, many things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, another possibility, because it's such an important kind of cross-functional discussion, we could have a tech meeting sometime, where we actually encourage more members of the public to come and visit later on. I'm not talking about delaying this until then, but I'm just saying that, communication between different groups and users is important. I noticed Rebecca Woodward, who's a tech member, has her hand up. Rebecca, would you like to weigh in? Can you hear me, Rebecca? You need to unmute. Uh,
Hello,
There we
can
go.
you hear me?
we can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've been having all sorts of technical trouble this morning, so I was on earlier, but no one could hear me then either. so
Oh, okay,
Sorry
sorry
about
about.
that. Do we have quorum? I missed that part.
Yes, there are four of us in the room here, and you make
Okay,
five.
perfect. Perfect. So, related to this conversation, I appreciate it. I wanted to concur with Nick, the question about even-handedness. And I missed the bit, I apologize, I missed the bit about the deadline for why this particular flyer is going out first. Would you mind just reiterating that?
There's no out, there's no thing, there's no deadline. I just heard the TAC last meeting and decided to ask folks to start developing something. But there's
Oh,
no,
perfect.
the deadline is on, from my perspective in collaboration with TAC, literally on you,
Right,
like,
and I think
you know.
TAC is probably the most, at least one of the most appropriate places to talk about this, so.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
You know,
getting this kicked off.
I just started
Yeah.
it, like it's.
It is much
So-
better to have something to critique than to have a blank sheet of paper.
Yes.
But it
So
has
if I
brought
could
up a
just,
lot of questions. Yeah.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Thank you. So, yeah, so especially with that in mind, yes, I love that this has been presented, and thank you for that. I would also encourage even-handedness of what TAC presents out so that it doesn't seem like we're just focusing on biking, especially given that there have been other, traffic incidents between cars and bikes and, various things. So my hope would be that whatever approach we take could address everything at once, so it doesn't feel like we're just focusing in on the cycling. Thank you.
Makes sense. Jonathan?
So I wanted to say to Melanie, I appreciated her comments yesterday. It was great to have a conversation with you. And it is kind of a big topic. So I had a couple of points. One was, I think it's, hopefully we can get something out the door so that it sort of falls in place with the idea of having a public forum with Stantec and, just sort of, it would be something additional for people to have as a takeaway from that forum. The other thing is, one of the issues that gets tough, this relates to Nick's comment, is some of what are issues here are regulated by the state, or maybe sometimes by the town. So the sidewalk issue is one in particular. It's actually part of the state law. And, that's where we have to be kind of careful about what goes into the work because we want it to be consistent with the state law. The last thing on that is that this is a huge topic once you start.
Yes, it is.
I learned, I have learned.
If you can get to one page without.
No, it's impossible, like I fail.
No, you didn't feel it. It's a totally great start. And, I think what maybe sort of like follow up on everybody's comments is we maybe divide it into chunks. So rather than trying to take on too much, we take on, we figure out our plan of action and take it on in chunks and have a year-long plan of campaign. And we're gonna think about this, and then we're gonna think about that, and.
My thought, the way my brain works, I tend to think you might start by just sort of laying out all the issues we know about.
Right.
I think that's.
Just lay all of them out, the one, whatever. And then just see how we can chunk them up
Right,
in a campaign and how to roll it out. Cause it seems to me you have to make clear from the beginning that you're gonna be even-handed about this, right?
Mhm.
And it's okay to have specific pieces that are focused totally on bicyclists or totally on
Yeah.
automobile, drivers, car drivers.
I think that's a great approach.
Well, there are three distinct audiences you're targeting,
Yeah, and there may be some others. that
Right.
we're not-
Police,
not-
the
Yeah.
enforcers.
And,
too.
Right, enforcers.
and again,
And it ties in so well with what you've done with the schools.
Right, and that's
That's great.
the last thing I wanted to say is there has been some safety education in the schools already, so each of them have had a presentation. I think each of the primary schools have had a presentation now from a state staff person on rules of the road and, you know, being safe from the, I think it's either fourth or fifth grade level. So, you know, it's a fourth or fifth grade level. It's not this, but we can build on that and I can get you that information because
It's
it's
great
all
to have
key.
that connected to whatever we're talking
Right.
about now. Yeah.
I guess I do think it is possible. Phil shared with me, I didn't yesterday or the day before, a graphic by another state that does really target cyclists. They're wearing bright things, a pedestrian wearing bright things, and a car and says, stay awake and, you know, wear at night, watch out at night. Or I don't, very brief, only one topic. It's not trying to persuade all the law.
And good thing, clothing is very.
You know, but it has very limited words. It was like, okay, this person that developed this is very knowledgeable,
I've
but
seen people in Concord with no lights on their bike wearing all dark clothing.
Yes. In this case, they.
On Monument Street.
They-
Right, which, you know, I mean, and that brings up a whole nother issue in terms of transportation, because at least in my neighborhood, the people, because I see a guy all the time, and I know he works in a restaurant.
Mhm.
And, you know, so we're talking about the service industry people who are leaving work at 10 or 11 at night from, you know, Woods Hill Table or from whatever the 99 is called these days, right? And, you know, they don't have any other means of transportation other than their bike. So, you know, it's an important topic for people of limited means
Yes.
to at least
But you could
have.
have a program like giving out vests.
Giving out
vests,
lights,
giving out lights,
light
right,
is
so this
a
is,
big thing.
so knowing that there is a public health collaborative, maybe what you can tell us, if, not right now necessarily, but, you know, how have they, with some of the other towns, done stuff like give out vests or give out lights or, you know, the things you put around your pant legs? Is that something that's within their wheelhouse? Do they, you know, is there another organization that does? I mean, I know that MassDOT does some stuff like that. They have some funds to give out stuff. And Mass Bike has a campaign to give lights out that they,
Right.
you know, have you know, that are funded by donations.
Mhm.
But,
I can ask other towns, and I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
But that would be good, that would be good to know.
The timing is also, I guess, appropriate in that if they wanted to do something, it's our budget cycle. We do the budget, so if there's money, you'd have, you know, to do something, and you're looking to put out a campaign and give out so many vests. Well, is that a grant? Is that some sort of,
Or you could raise private money for it. I mean.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to
I'm
do
sure, I'm
it.
sure the
so.
restaurant owners might be interested in preserving the lives of their.
Yeah,
you know, I
and
don't.
that's actually, you know, it would be great to go to the restaurant, right?
Yeah,
And have a
yeah.
quick meeting with their staff and
Yeah,
say, here,
do any of you? Yeah.
and have it in, you know, Spanish or in Portuguese or in whatever other language, you know, the folks in the kitchen and, you know, in the back room are speaking. So,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think collaboration with TAC and Public Health Department sounds really good. The Board of Public Health doesn't have a connection to this or not?
The Board of Health?
Yeah, Board of Health.
I mean,
No, I'm just thinking in terms of an endorsement or.
They could.
publicity. Okay,
they don't,
this is
I mean, we
something-
meet next week, so and I didn't have a meeting in July, so they haven't heard about this yet,
You
but they will.
mentioned that there is such a thing and PAC is interested and,
Yeah.
you know, they have communication means and, also, you know, in terms of, you know, if there are many, if it's a complicated issue, then, you know, having the, you know, the program of things is important, but, you know, flyers again are kind of limited and people don't always read everything and how you design it makes a difference of whatever. But, you know, on a website, you know, you could say, you know, if you're a cyclist concerned about safety, here's some information. If you're a driver concerned about interacting with pedestrians and cyclists, here's, you know, I mean, and kind of assuming goodwill, but putting, you know what I mean? It's not instigating people, it's kind of bringing
Resource.
them into the safety conscious approach to things.
So
And
Would make
including
sense.
drivers slow the hell down.
Phil's really our leader in this. Would it
Well-
make sense for you to, you know, sort of lay out the terrain, what, how extensive this is, what all the topics are, and then have, maybe bring it back to the meeting.
Yeah, well, it's, I don't wanna just rattle it off right now, but I
No,
think
no,
that
not
would be a
now.
good
I mean-
idea, and
And you can help kick off a program so
Yeah.
that we can put our arms around this.
Well,
Yeah,
anybody,
absolutely.
I mean, one practical thing would be anybody, obviously anybody on TAC could send, uh, their comments to Ms. Deneen. Also, you could send any kind of outline goals, questions concerned to Heather to, collect into a big document that we, anonymous document that we post and we go over, so. But Phil, if you wanna take the lion's share of something.
yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Go for that.
So,
I think one of, this visibility thing, one of the things I always amazed at when I see certain people driving in camouflage or riding in camouflage, or whatever, something like that, some people just don't realize what drivers can and can't see and what they're paying attention to and all that. And speed has an awful lot to do with it. And it used to be always the eye contact thing, but I don't know, somehow
it's hard to do that at night
It
too.
can't do that at night. It's hard to do that. Okay, so this is important. Thanks for kicking it off and
Yeah, thank you very
we will
much.
continue. So on the TAC agenda for today are links to the draft flyer and the draft media version for review, and there's a lot more, and we can find ways compliant with OML to share things and stuff. And I do think if there's gonna be these meetings October, November, with Sandbeck and stuff, getting this into the mix is good, because it infrastructure that indicates proper behavior is also a factor. Because if you don't know that a pedestrian or a cyclist is present, it helps to be reminded. Any other comments on this item before we move to the next one?
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so let's see. Stop the share. All right, so the next item I put on the agenda, we're talking about discussion of a possible connection methods from Concord Middle School to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, so the new middle school. And the possibility of a letter of support from TAC and school committee. So Phil sent me some information back and forth, but but I wasn't really aware of any kind of clear proposal. However, we have a member of the public here who has sent to me a PowerPoint, which we can take a quick look at, but I think this, at least I see enough aspects to this that it probably needs more detailed discussion at a future meeting, but we can kind of let TAC members decide that. Let me see if I can find where the document is. Is it a hold on a second. Still on 10, still on there, that's good.
We sent over as a PDF as opposed to a PowerPoint.
Yeah, so I got it here. Go back. So we could do this a couple ways. But I think we're gonna need to take this up at another meeting if in order to kind of do it justice, but let's see here. There it is. Okay, are people seeing something?
There it is. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, and if we
Good, just got bigger, that's good.
okay, so would you like to speak to it very quickly through the slides, or do you want me to go through the slides and ask your comments?
If
on it?
it's easiest, I can give quick dialogue for each slide.
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be great. And this is, there's like a first pass of this, and then depending how many questions there are and whatever, we might need to continue to another meeting, but let's get the information out that we can.
And Jeff, can you just introduce yourself
Yeah,
and
please,
address for
please.
the record?
I'm Jeff Alls, a resident of Concord, also the parent of two children at Willard Elementary, and I'm also a cyclist. And I've been asked by a member of the CMS, Shelley Carlin, who couldn't make it but has made this presentation. She is part of the Green Committee at CMS, and they are trying to lobby for a proper connection between the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and the middle school, because there's an improper connection now, just the path really, which has been there before the new school was built. But it would be great, we feel, if there's a real connection that everyone can use. So this is what the presentation is showing. If you want to go to the next.
So so far the presentation has been made to whom? To which group?
I do not know who Shelley has shown it to yet, aside from perhaps focus groups or
Okay,
mothers,
Okay.
parents,
Okay.
mothers are front and other parents.
if you're not sure, that's a,
So this is a quick diagram of the CMS campus as it stands now. You can see the new Allen Garrison building. There's a red line showing how there's an old gravel roadway connecting a lower field up to the old school. There's a yellow line showing where the new campus is. That's not forested. That's all the area that's been developed. There's a lower field, which is still used. A goat path is what we're calling the dirt trail that connects that lower path to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, which is green. And they have just recently blazed a sort of wood trail as well, which is that cyan colored trail between the lower field and the lower part of the new CMS, which is usable, but it's not usable for everyone because there's some steep areas there. We're talking about 30 feet of elevation change between that lower field and the backside of the school. But there is a trail now that some students can use, and any able-bodied person can use. If you go to the next slide. So, as I said, who uses these paths? There's some cyclists, CMS staff, cross-country students and teams and their families, clubs, student clubs. There's volunteers and community members that are using those trails. CMS students use it all the time to access between. You go to the next slide. Current conditions are, as I said, just a dirt path. Right now it's overgrown because of the summer. If you were there in the fall or the winter, it would be a lot more open looking. But it is still just dirt path with roots and
Poison ivy.
there's the poison ivy. That picture there shows just the goat path they're calling, which is the about 55-foot path between the lower field and the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Is the lower field a formal ball field or is it just bare ground?
It's a ball
It's
field.
long, there's
Soccer
soccer
nets and stuff.
nets on either end.
So it's used as a field
Oh, yeah,
with markings of.
That was the field for the old school.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the plans are in the future,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
that's
definitely usable. And when I was there recently, there were students running around playing back in the spring. If you could go to the next slide. And as I said, there's also a larger gravel path that vehicles can use to get between the old Sanborn school and the lower field, but it's quite steep in areas. It's there. It's not universally accessible, but it provides a wide path down to the lower field. Do you know approximately how long that is? From top to bottom?
Yeah.
I do not know. If I had to guess, I'd say 200 feet,
Okay.
maybe more,
That's quite a grade.
Yes,
Yeah.
30 feet over 200.
maybe 300 feet. It's definitely, well above 10% slope in many areas.
Riding a bike up it.
You can ride a bike up it.
Yeah.
It gets your legs burning. It's just not universally accessible. And it can't, it's, as it is now, it's prone to a washout if it rains a lot because it's gravel. But as a able-bodied people can use it, not
Yeah.
everyone can use it.
But if you're a kid riding down it, it's more fun.
It's very fun if you're a kid on a bike riding down.
Okay.
But then you can see the soccer fields there, in that lower picture.
So we go to the next one?
Yes, please. And as it stands now, there is you can see that cyan path drawn on the diagram there. That has sort of been a blaze trail which followed the path of least resistance from the
Right,
south.
blaze, you mean informally?
The fall line.
Blazed as in cleared, not blazed with fire, but blazed as blazing a trail.
No, but I mean, who blazed it? That's from
So I
this.
think volunteers,
Yeah. Or maybe somebody from the school department
Okay,
or from the school.
okay.
yeah.
I mean, it's important that we figure out who owns what and who's in charge of what.
I believe the school was involved with clearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the school owns, so the school is in charge of all of that.
Cause that picture there in the upper middle looks rather, I mean, it looks rather strange.
So there's some potential liabilities.
Yeah,
If somebody
yeah,
gets hurt the way it is now.
Definitely the problem is, as you get closer to the school, it gets steeper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
especially where a lot of the recent earthworks have been done.
Hmm,
The earthworks were not done to facilitate
no,
access to the lower area.
Or erosion control.
Right, so
They've
what,
probably,
what you're looking at, Nick, is the edge of the erosion control that's
Yeah.
put in
right,
during the construction phase for the
Right.
building.
right, right.
And it's,
And it
and
was-
it's
and
been
it was
blown
not
out, you know,
removed.
you can
Yeah,
see how the earth has eroded all the way down
What
the
the earth
slope.
wants to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
goes downhill, maybe.
Okay, next one.
yes, please. So why improve the paths? Safety, of course. If we can get a good path that connects, it's given that the CMS is right beside the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. It provides an extremely safe connection for kids or parents or anyone else who wants to visit the school. Away from cars. And then if we make a proper path, we can prevent erosion, which will also prevent injuries. Also health and accessibility. Right now, as I've mentioned, able-bodied people can use these paths, these existing paths, but not everyone. And as a school, we should be providing universal access. And I believe that the middle school is not just promised as a school, but also something that can host events for the community at large. And it'd be great if the community at large could access the school via a wonderful path like the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. And if we have better access, more people can use it.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Next slide, please.
yeah, let's,
Thanks. Also, anytime we can get people to use their bikes, we're lowering emissions, we're improving health, both for people biking and also the air quality in general. And as a town that's trying to promote a climate-friendly environment, I think that's a great benefit as well. Next slide. There are challenges, obviously. There is about a 40-foot drop from the campus all the way to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. It's about 5 or 6 up to that lower field, and then depending on where you would try to get to it, about 30 feet from that field up to the school. And if you want universal access, you either need a series of ramps with railings or a very gentle slope that meanders back and forth. There are wetlands south of there, but we can definitely avoid those. There are the there are trees obviously between the field and the school.
Do you know roughly where the wetlands are?
You-
It looks like they're on
saying
the-
It's that area circling there, not
Down at the bottom.
not exactly right at the edge of the woods there, but
Right,
it
okay.
begins fairly soon after that.
What is,
But that whole area between the field and the Bruce Freeman Trail is not designated as a wetland, it's just scrub.
Is that open area with the two lines going to, is that the lower field?
That's the lower field,
Okay.
yes.
okay, so I'm gonna kind of speed up.
Yeah.
So,
Some examples of other trails that have been built, there's the White Pond Trail, that's about 40 feet in total. And it provides universal access. There's another example as well, if you go to the next slide, which is the access point at Powder Mill with the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, and that's about 25 feet from the trail up to Powder Mill Road. And that is a meandering trail that doesn't require railings or anything. So that could be two examples of what could be done to accommodate that change in slope. This could be done in phases or all at once. The first phase would just possibly be connect properly the rail trail with the lower field, and then later on connect the lower field up to the school, or it could be all at once. Depends on how people want to approach it and funding. Go to the next slide. Again, there's timelines. If you do it in phases, you could get something done for the first leg quite early. If it's holistic, that would obviously take a lot more time and study, because that larger hill would require analysis. But
Would you go? Sorry, when you're done, I want to go back to the slide that has the, one of the maps showing the relationship to the fields and all of that.
yeah, if you could go
Okay,
quickly
yeah,
to the
yeah.
next one.
yeah, this is one.
Okay.
So as I said, it could be done in phases. That is just showing where the goat path is and whether you wanted a straight shot with a ramp that has railings that would, or a switchback that doesn't require railings. That's a quick sketch that I did over top of the aerial, because we don't have great CAD or drawing information about that area of the school. The rest of the areas we do. But those are two solutions that could work if we were gonna do it in phases.
So there's a switchback one usually.
The switchback one,
It's a little, I don't know if people can see it.
it's
but
hard to come up
I
on
can
this
close it, yeah.
page. But that would be a gentle enough slope where it's just a path that switchbacks and you don't need railings or anything like that.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I want to march through the rest.
Yep. I think we're almost done there.
Okay.
The groups that are in support of it are Mothers Out Front, Friends of the BFRT. We are asking TAC and CAC to also support the project. And there's possible funding available. But we need to get the school on board, and if groups like TAC endorse it, I think that would help.
Okay,
And so,
is that it? That's the
yeah,
end?
that's it.
Okay,
If
all
we want to
right.
go back to anything.
Then go back to some. Is that the one? Nick?
No, further back, keep going.
Big- That one?
That one.
That one.
That's the biggest one.
When you're speaking of proper path, is that referring to a paved path?
I see, there it is.
As opposed to a gravel path?
You can have ADA accessible paths that aren't paved, they have to be stabilized, Grant.
Let's just,
But it could be asphalt, it could be stabilized form of gravel, or it could be concrete.
Okay.
Those are typically your three things you're looking at.
I don't know, my guess is TAC would support this, but, the big issue that you haven't spoken to is this entire project is on school department land.
Mhm.
You need their support before anything else is.
Absolutely.
And I would expect that they should be, given their liability, the way it is now, they should be a funder of this, not just grants, okay? And an observation.
So on that point, I reached out to Gokin Michael Williams, who's on the school committee.
Good.
Michael has expressed his interest and support, and, Sandy Pishadi. is
Yeah.
the way to pronounce
I
his
think
last
it'll,
and also to the chair. All of them seem to be comfortable with this. The main issue in terms of the timing is sort of like, I hate to say it, but it was like the last round of relatively large project. The CAC, CPC committee
Yeah.
has money that they would be willing to provide as seed money for either construction or planning, but their cycle is over on September 19th. So if the school were to
we may
be,
miss a whole year if we don't.
well, it's a whole year, and we don't know what funding is like in a year from now.
Right,
This year, they got money back from the Factory Pond, Warner's Pond, because that project was withdrawn, right? We were gonna do dredging,
I think
CPC had
there's
$1
still-
million bucks or something,
NRC is still hoping to spend some of that money,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's all gone back.
but some of it has.
Yeah. So, given that timing especially, to my experience on the Natural Resources Committee and seeing projects come in, there's significant engineering work that's gonna have to be done before you can have any kind of a budget, right? And it's really on the school committee, because it's on their land, to do the engineering, to see that the engineering gets done. It's not, that's not, given the slope, that is a very challenging project. I've watched, there was a similar issues at White's Pond, where they had to do major construction to bring the path down to
Right.
the pond from the, proper path. And it took quite a bit of work and community involvement, and it's close enough, there could be wetlands issues. I mean, if you're within 100 feet of the wetlands.
Yeah, I think
It's an
it's
issue,
yours.
but anyway, my point is, it's big and you're gonna need some kind of a design of the cost before you can go to CPC, I believe.
Well, I think the idea was to go to CPC to do sort of the beginning of the project, to sort of kick it off and provide, like Jeff said, either doing the first phase, which is,
Right.
that's just the
The design.
that little
You're
orange
saying the
line.
design.
Yeah.
right?
So that one's that's like almost a Boy Scout project.
No, it isn't.
No, no, it's not.
It is not.
Well, unless the Boy Scouts want to accept.
Well, they have to-
Unless they have certified civil engineers.
Well, they're gonna-
and Boy
Well, we'll let the civil engineers weigh in, but, I can tell you that at least in terms of the steps, the slide that Jeff had at the end, I think is, on point.
Okay,
You
it's
could
not,
use
our-
this
it's
as
not
a-
our issue, so I'm gonna let go of it, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to raise it as a flag, which is, I think. You've got a lot of work to do with the school committee and engineering to get something specific enough that you can ask for money.
Yeah,
And there is money available, so that's the sort of the good thing is you
The
can
people
get,
with a design.
but,
well, no, I don't think there's money available for a final design, but it's sort of like, you gotta start somewhere. Right, with all of this
Agreed.
stuff, you gotta start somewhere, the Friends have committed money, and CPC has committed, at least in terms of. It's saying, are you interested in doing this? We have money, make an application to us, please.
So what is our role in this whole?
I think just to say we like it, or,
Yeah, I think
please,
we're
yeah.
peripheral to this, really. I mean,
Yeah.
we just say conceptually in terms of transportation, we support this.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Right.
It fits with what Phil's been doing with the school.
Rebecca, do you have any comment? I want to make sure I don't miss a hand raised or anything.
I appreciate it, Mark. Just to say, I absolutely support this, this measure, and this effort. And to me, especially being in a town that's about to spend so much on roads, it seems like it should be a small thing. I understand there's some technical engineering challenges, but in terms of project, I would hope this could be the least we could do, is to make it easier to connect and more accessible for all people. So yes, I'm in support. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, would you have any?
No, I think it's a wonderful idea, and, I'm more than happy to vote to support it.
Okay.
When that opportunity arises.
Well, I think, yeah, for me, I have some serious questions. One of them is, I don't know whether that piece of land is subject to consideration for reuse. And it doesn't seem like a wise use of money to put in a part of a path if you don't evaluate where you're gonna end up when you do further work. So further.
You mean other uses for the land?
Other uses, well, yeah, I'm just raising these issues, okay? I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just saying it's complicated and a rush timetable is probably not a good use of money. If that field gets used for something different, that affects this, and you might have a
But that's all,
stabilized, accessible goat path to something very different than a playing field. I don't know the ownership of all the land and whether that's
that lot is all shown as school department land,
Everything,
including the lower field.
okay,
So I just looked it up on the
Right.
GIS and.
but there have been discussions, right, about reuse of that particular lower.
No,
field.
that, not.
I don't know.
That's the other school that they're
But
talking
back,
about.
back to the point, this is
Okay.
all where you're gonna go to the school.
Oh, but it's all in the school, no,
Oh,
that's
it's all in the school
I
committee.
appreciate that
School
clarification.
committee.
So to me, TAC could say, they support the idea of the school department evaluating access from the Concord Middle School to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail
Right, on their property.
on their property.
Right.
I feel fine with that, but I don't think we ought to weigh in on particular pieces of it or connections or anything like that. So we could say to the school department, we think this is something you should be looking at seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I
that?
mean, no matter what goes in there, having a connection with the rail trail, I think makes sense,
It
right?
does, but there are other issues too about, security on campus and all that about, are you encouraging people to cut through the campus to get to other neighborhoods from the Bruce Freeman Rail? I'm just saying the school department needs
It's
to
their
really.
issues, it's all their
Really,
issues.
yeah, it's all their issues and we shouldn't, shortchange the school department really in
Yeah.
terms of their
No,
their responsibility, you know what I mean?
If, so the way to say it is, if the school department supports this, we support this.
Yeah,
I
think that's.
well, how do we work? Do we wanna,
I don't think we have to at this point, I think the community that's putting it together needs to know they
okay, that's,
subjectively, we're in
Ag-
favor of this,
ag-
but not formally yet.
okay, so we have a consensus that you can report back
Makes a lot of
that
sense.
TAC supports the idea of the school department evaluating possibility for a safe connection between the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and the Concord Middle School campus. Does that sound acceptable? I mean, it's better than where you start. Okay, because again, it's very complicated, and we have to make sure that we keep in our purview. And there's also the fact too, that there's a big wall of separation between the school and the town, even though the school takes most of the town's money. We don't control the school, it's a school committee and the administration, so we don't wanna set a precedent for, stepping on the toes. But thank you very much, and thank you for this. It would also be good for us to, as this goes along, to know exactly who is proposing it, to whom and when it's been presented. So if you keep us up to date, that would be good.
So what I've written for the minutes is the Transportation Advisory Committee supports the idea of the school department developing a formal connection from the CMS to the BFRT.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, do we want to vote on that?
yes,
Let's vote, do it, so,
I move that I move that TAC expresses its formal support for the idea of the school department developing a formal connection from the CMS to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
okay, second.
Second,
Was that a question,
Yeah,
discussion?
developing, and are we encouraging them to develop it?
We support the idea of the school department developing.
I guess it's harmless, yeah,
Well, I mean,
It's clear, it says
Yeah,
we're
it
okay
is.
with it, it's your thing.
right, okay,
I mean, we're not opposed to that, I mean,
No.
it sounds like a good idea, but we can't really.
You can't push them to do
You
anything.
can't push.
no,
them.
it's their thing.
Yeah.
They got it,
So we gotta
pull the trigger.
second, okay.
Second.
Phil, I guess
Yes, second.
your vote, yes or no? Dan,
Yes.
Yes,
yes,
Rebecca.
and Rebecca?
Yes,
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, and thanks so much for bringing this thing, the presentation was very, very
Thank you.
helpful.
How to spell your last name?
Halls, ALLS.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanna, I don't know if there's gonna be public comments, but I wanna leave some time for that, so I'm gonna just quickly kind of. Open a short discussion on. Systems for tech communication and collaboration with Public Works Commission, Public Works Department, other boards and departments on transportation matters, including safety requests from the public. And listing and assigning the priorities to transportation project options and communication requests, prioritization, constraints, implementation, communication of these to the public. So earlier, Bill, you wanted to comment during the chair comment about some of this. Do you remember what it was you were gonna kind of add in? I think it was related to, I mentioned that I got 2 letters.
Oh, yes, so, what I wanted to say was, we have had these various communications, and I think there's been likely been a lot of communications over time with the Transportation Management Group.
Mhm.
And I think it would be helpful not only to sort of log them as something that happened, but also to create a way of, cataloging or indexing where the complaints, what the complaints relate to geographically, where they are.
Mhm.
So that way, it will be possible for us to start to understand, yes, we're getting multiple complaints of the
Just
intersection.
our own log of our own things that we're picking up.
And, it would become a public record, it could, maybe inform, Public Works Commission and DPW about, yes, we have now started to receive multiple complaints about the intersection of Main Street and Thoreau Street, one fatality plus, X number of near misses, which is probably actually true. So how you do that is above my pay grade, but I think it's something that I'm sure someone can figure out. And then I think that information hopefully could be made available across the various committees and, available to the staff people too, when they want to analyze it. And this is like a good GPS, a GIS type of project where you have certain data points and then you can put it into a map.
But this would include public expressions of concern for particular places. I mean, Stantec is continually doing some of that right now, but you're suggesting that we have this as an ongoing.
As an ongoing thing, that sort
The
of,
ones we pull in.
right, so,
Okay.
to the extent that,
Yeah, I think where we're headed, I hope where we're headed is. I see doing that as a way of encouraging the creation of the greater list.
right,
Because that's what we really need is the greater list, which is the stuff that flows in through us and however else it gets in, plus the old complete streets list.
right, all of
Someone's
that,
gotta clean that all up.
and put it into a place where it makes sense, and where you can, someone who gets involved in a new project can look at it and say, oh, yeah, we can't do this, or we have to mitigate in some way, because we know we've had 15 complaints about this spot, so we know we're gonna have to put in a traffic light or a stop sign or whatever the mitigation is.
One concern I have is whether first of all, I think it's perfectly appropriate for members of the public with letters or using the online form or coming to a TAC meeting, making public comment, etc., to highlight safety concerns and transportation concerns of all sorts. But one of the main things I would like to see developed out of this concern about collaboration and perhaps retuning the traffic management group to be more kind of fit into a more effective operation, hopefully with, again, and I don't want to end this meeting without telling everybody, please show up and vote at the August 19th meeting so that
Thank you, Mark.
we get, not only the $5 million borrowing authorization for roads, 5 million a year for 5 years, which replaces the $2 million we're already borrowing at higher interest to let the roads get worse. So it's really a delta of 3, it's not a delta of 5, and along with $500,000 a year for safety related improvements, which we've never had, because that has always been tried to be carved out of the $2 million and ended up being spent on emergencies. So it could be a really big enabler and we need that, but given those things, we need ways of collecting information and prioritizing, and I'm a little bit concerned that there could be confusion because TAC can be sort of on the front end with the public, taking in inputs. And TAC can be at a certain stage helping with the public and staff evaluate the cost of and prioritize the order of implementation of changes. But in between those pieces, there are a lot of steps that require professionals, and we are not transportation professionals. So how the, I guess my feeling in some of this is that I really want to hear from the staff professionals what they think TAC can do, and we want to also hear from the select board what they think TAC can do, and try to bridge some significant gaps that, staff, it's very challenging for staff to do that. So can I get a few more comments from people about, because I think we're in a time of change and opportunity, and if we get the money, that's opportunity might become, tangible things. But the prioritization, say like, with the Commonwealth Avenue and Monument Square, Union Square, things like this that have been outstanding questions for a long time. There are going to be, have to be choices made that some other people are going to say, well, we should be doing something different. So what is TAC's role? I'd like to have everybody say just to put it out on the table, not as a final thing, but what do you think TAC should do, or what do you think TAC should not be involved in?
Well, I think we should certainly identify where those choices need to be made, where the potential conflicts are.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're in a good position to warn the select board that, hey, we could spend money on Kennington Square, or we could spend money in this other area in 2 different parts of the community. Here's our assessment of what the safety or other issues are that we see, but it's ultimately a political question, right? Which I think the select board, someone at that level, has to decide what the priorities will be. So we can give some qualified advice on that, but ultimately it's not our call.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, how the staff, the TAC and select board operate in the Public Works Commission, Andrea, can I put you on the spot? Do you have any thoughts about how the Public Works Commission, with your experience with it, and now you're the chair, how it could best be served by what TAC does or could do?
I think, when you look at the charge of the TAC, what I always focus on is that last bit about being the, you really are the public facing end of this, like, the responsibility of providing the public a place to have input and for you to then express that to the various entities. I do agree that it's more to that you guys communicate more with town manager and select board, and they can certainly influence the DPW on prioritization. But that that would go that way. I don't think it should go from from your committee to our commission to us telling
Right.
public works staff what to do.
Right,
You
right.
know, I mean, we can offer our opinions, we can support TAC in that manner, but we're not directing them on how to prioritize those projects.
Right, and one of the pieces of information, I think, is also, one of the working connections is that the Public Works Department and Public Works Commission can communicate with TAC, who can help communicate to the broader public what is actually being implemented and what are the potential costs or delays or timetables or things like that. Phil has mentioned things, our select board liaison, Paul Baum has mentioned that's.
So I just realized there's one other thing. I think some value that TAC can add is the broad topic of transportation and mobility is extremely complicated.
Yes.
And I think we can help the select board, for instance, understand things like the trade-offs between road improvements and public transit investments and bicycle enhancements and what the right balance is, right? Because of the complex nature of that. I wouldn't expect the select board to know all that,
They
right?
have too many things on their plate.
Well, yeah, and they're looking at a high level, but the thing I've learned is transportation is extremely complicated because of historical things that have been done and the way that investments have been made in the past in roads and everything else, and what's been compromised as a result, and what now becomes difficult to do. And we have, parking, that's the great one, right? Right. Parking is a great one.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to advise the select board and the other departments about, well, you may not have realized it, but there's this trade-off between parking and zoning. Big one. It affects transportation a lot.
Yeah.
So how do we contextualize that in terms of us being, I mean, you've characterized us as being non-professionals, non-transportation professionals. I mean, what context are we presenting that in?
Well, I think at a high level, we can explain what the differences are, right, without cost of figuring out the details of how you'd implement it. I think we have to have Stantec or others help us figure out in detail what some of those trade-offs, what some of the costs are, right? Because it all comes down to costs, and we don't know the costs.
Yeah, we don't have the cost, I mean, we have to rely on experts, for that too.
But I think we can help the select board understand what those are.
Or they're the public facing body that's going to have to explain why this isn't gonna happen in your neighborhood.
Right.
Yes, unfortunately.
Why Phil isn't gonna get everything he wants in bicycles, because we're not public transit.
So let me just throw in one thing. Fortunately, we have a really excellent staff person who provides support to us. Elisa has great experience and, she started her career at Stantec, so she's, has a good grounding in this. So
Yeah.
I think we're really well positioned because, none of us are engineers or professionals in this area, but we do have someone who is a professional who can guide us. And I think the other good thing, just like Nick said, is we can bring in, as it appropriate, hopefully we can have some budget for this, some help. So right now we have some budget for Stantec to provide us for help for certain tasks.
Good timing.
And, maybe on an ongoing basis or a going forward basis with discussion with Lisa and also discussion with Public Works Commission and Alan and his staff, it may make sense for us to have a budget for professional consulting services for certain types of things. I'm not putting a number on it. I don't know if it's a $15,000 budget item or a $50,000 budget item. And I don't know if it's every year or periodically, but I think that's how we can help move this needle forward is by, providing the public for a place to go, providing us, with clear guidance as to when we take my information in, where to, transmit that information. And then once it gets chewed through by the staff, how to get it back out to the public so they know what's going on.
Okay, so, I want to make sure there's a little time for public comment. Rebecca, do you have any, comment about this, topic?
Yes, thank you, Mark. I would say that, given how murky description of roles has been, I mean, in various places, including from staff, sometimes I've heard TAC given more responsibility and direction, as in TAC will take care of this, than I would have expected, given our advisory role. So my recommendation would be not to make any assumptions about this whatsoever until we've sat down with the various parties that are involved, including from staff and from select board and from Planning Works Commission, and really be clear about roles. I wouldn't want us to do any work on this until that role and expectation is very clearly clarified. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca.
And can I just add one other thing, because I agree with Rebecca, I think the end product of that series of discussions would probably be a modification to our charge, just so that, you know, the charge is really clear about how this is gonna work.
But the sequence is clear. We need all that laid out before the charge should be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we need an operational.
We need to know the
System.
process.
We need a
Right, we need a process, and then, you know.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to select board liaison comment, Paul, please. Thanks for hanging in here.
But I want to make sure, are we in that agenda item? I want to make sure I don't jump.
Yes, we are. Liaison observer comment, please.
Okay, so thank you, guys. I have a couple of observations here, in reverse order, because you were just discussing the interaction. The good news is that, and I think Mark and others know this, there's really very active convergence between all the interested parties here, the Transportation Management Group, the TAC, the Public Works Commission, the Public Works Department, the Community Development Department, and we've had at least one meeting and lots of sidebar conversations on the entire topic, and I'll call it both demystifying and systematizing transportation safety issues. It's a big ask, but we're trying to get all the pieces well defined, all the types of projects, and how, for example, how road paving intersects with bike safety and pedestrian safety, and to try to get them to a system that the public understands, B, the public can get information on projects, and C, that the different roles of the TAC and others are well defined. It's kind of a work in progress right now. As far as the charge, it's a bit of a chicken and egg in my mind. You mentioned that, Phil. I suggested to Mark drafting a modification in the charge, so you guys can look at the TAC and say, this is what we think our role should be. And I think you should not wait for somebody to tell you what the role is, but sort of carve out a role which embodies certainly the public interface. You are the public facing body here, along with the Public Works Commission, but you know, you have the Transportation Advisory Committee, so you have a public facing role in sort of ongoing needs and projects and future prioritization. And as Stantec, it was mentioned earlier, and as Stantec comes up with their plan, like you can have a significant role in helping to prioritize those new projects. You're not the decider, but you are the advisor. So I think looking at your charge and how you like to roll this out in the future, I think is a good step. But the good news is I think everybody's on the same page in moving forward here. So that's my comment on so the interface here. Just going back to the beginning on bicycle safety, Melanie, I think that flyer is great. I think trying to get any piece of information or any flyer to do everything for everybody and cover all bases is certainly aspirational, but I think this flyer unto itself is accurate. It does no harm and it's helpful. Does it cover every piece? No. And maybe there are other flyers that are needed. So I would encourage you guys to kind of try to finalize that, wherever you guys are, and figure out what the outreach is going to be on that. If I close my eyes, I can see I saw a full page blurb in a Concord Bridge with this flyer in there. You might want to talk to the bridge about helping to disseminate this. It's really hard to get information out to the public. You know, we put it on the website and you know, we ask the public to come and find it. So I think this is an example of an important piece of information, and maybe the bridge can help in putting it out there. So it doesn't answer every problem related to bicycles. Doesn't pedestrians and drivers and kids driving on sidewalks, maybe that should be included in there, but I would encourage you to kind of not look for the perfect and throw out the good in doing that. As far as the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail connection to the middle school, I've had a conversation with several of you. Putting on my former CPC hat, I think this is a perfect project for funding for CPC. Now, you have to be mindful that the applicant on a project like this is the schools. They are the owner of the site, and both the community development department, Elisa in particular, and the various stakeholders, the TAC and others are supporters. And in fact, Elisa could be a co-applicant, for example, but the applicant needs to be the schools. So the pathway of getting this into the chain and getting an application submitted by the third week in September is through the school committee. And because Dr. Hunter is going to have to sign the application. It's not the chair of the school committee. So I think that's my advice on that. As far as feasibility, I think, Nick, you're right. I mean, you have to develop a feasibility plan and engineering, but CPC has funded many phase one feasibility studies with the eye towards the overall project. So don't shy away from CPC funding just because we don't know all the dollars here. In fact, the outcome of any phase one project would be a consultant estimating the cost. So in the phase two application, you would actually know what the costs are, because we don't know what those are now. But be aware that the school department needs to be the applicant for this. So I think whatever conversations need to take place between now and the next few weeks, I think if you want to get it into the cycle, there are funds available. And I know I was on CPC a year ago, and I think CPC is very anxious to get applications. We only had 7 last year, and I think from a town perspective, because we're spending taxpayers' money, we'd like to see at least twice as many applications. So, if you can throw your hat in the ring with this project, that would be great. I think that's all I have. I appreciate that it is true. Your job is to advise the select board, and we need that advice. My job is to help you kind of figure out the pathway to getting in the right role that you think is appropriate. So I'm anxious to help you do that, Mark, and in the rest of the committee.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, I'm gonna go to public comment. Jeff Collins, you have your hand up on mute, please. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I've been attending the last several meetings, listening in as I multitask, primarily with interest in bicycle transportation. So I'll take the tack Paul did of working backwards on the agenda items. First, on the question of authority and role for an advisory committee, I was on the West Concord Advisory Committee for a couple terms up until 2019, and subcommittee of the planning board. My observation there was our power was prescribed by the charge, but we had to lean into our role with the planning board, not through any fault of the planning board, but where the processes have been developed, for instance, for developers to come to the advisory committee first and get our input before the planning board. Sometimes that would happen, sometimes that wouldn't happen. So it requires conversations with the upper committee chair, with the town staff to establish and implement steady practices so that an advisory committee is looked to play the role. I've heard a couple times from commission liaison today and from the chair another time that the commission looks to the advisory committee for transportation, bike safety advice, etc. And Paul sort of said the same. So from experience serving on an advisory committee, I'd encourage members of this advisory committee to lean into the role until almost you're told, no, that's not your role. But clearly folks are looking to the TAC for leadership in this area. In that vein, on the discussion of the connector trail to the middle school, I think it's great. The conversation was interesting, the presentation was interesting, and the vote will be helpful. I'm guessing. I'm not super involved in that, well, not involved in that project at all, but I think it would be excellent because the charge, which I just looked at for the committee, includes language from the long range plan specifically about improving connectivity for teens on bikes, etc. Looking back at that charge and the sort of role I just laid out, it would have been nice to maybe have the committee urge the school committee to work in that direction, not sort of say, yeah, that seems fine if you want to do it, but hey, this would really advance the tax charge or the tax objectives here to improve connectivity for teens. And then finally, working back, and why I joined the meeting was to hear the discussion of the flyer. I think communication about road safety is always a good idea, but I share some of the comments that were made earlier that this material, it's a draft, it's to be worked on. Definitely leaned to my read on the advice to cyclists being don't get run over. That was the main takeaway in terms of safety. And so I'd urge you to, continue to work on the complete streets sort of paradigm of accidents happen. We're human. Sometimes we're inattentive. Sometimes cars, pedestrians, bikes end up in the same space. And that's always a bad outcome or a lesser outcome for pedestrians and cyclists. So we really need to lean into this education about safe practices for pedestrians and cyclists, but also for drivers around patience, around driving slow and being attentive. You all know we had, sadly, there were 2 fatalities in Bedford on Route 62, both women walking in crosswalks. So that's not a message about safety, of not jaywalking, etc. That's a message about when drivers are inattentive, it can result in fatalities. So I think of the major education push around motorcycles. Motorcycles, they're everywhere, or whatever those bumper stickers are, and sort of the same thing. That's urging drivers to check every angle because motorcycles are less visible. So I'd urge you to think in that vein, not sort of put the blame on cyclists and pedestrians for ending up under a car, but think about what we can be doing to have complete safe streets, including separated bike lanes, etc., to recognize that people do make mistakes, but we want to limit tragedies. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Tanya? Unmute. You need to unmute.
Hello, Tanya Galis, 62 Prescott Road. Yes, I agree that safety-wise, it's a shared responsibility, and drivers should also be instructed on how to be careful in dealing with cyclists, pedestrians, and other vulnerable users. I wanted to bring to Melanie's and others' attention that I saw the flyer mentions how Massachusetts law gives cyclists the same responsibilities and rights as motor vehicles. And I want to add to that there is actually a lot of activity recently through some cycling promotion groups that as vulnerable users, they also would like the same rights as pedestrians. And sometimes the overlap can become confusing. Sometimes it can be, it might not be made clear enough that while both groups are vulnerable to cars and other large motor vehicles, that pedestrians are still vulnerable to cyclists. For example, there are issues that need to be looked into, such as efforts by some groups at the State House to make sidewalks and dirt trails usable by all electric bikes, and that is not necessarily safe for pedestrians. So that's just another kind of component in there to bring into a fuller consideration. As far as the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail to Middle School connector, to me, I hesitate because I do not want an assumption that all ways to cycle for children, teens, or anyone else need to be paved to be safe. I don't want tree loss whenever possible, and I also don't want such a decision in this case, even though it is under school department's purview, to promote a precedent that all paths to school now need to be paved. As everyone knows, I care particularly about the Reformatory Branch Trail and to keep it natural and safe for all in its current condition. So, thank you.
Okay, Gina Stark, please unmute. Great.
Right,
Thanks.
Gina Stark, 512 Thoreau Street. I just wanted to say, I think all of these issues are important, and they definitely add to the town. It's something that we need to focus on and improve upon. However, I would just like to take a step back and make sure that the town and the various committees are taking into consideration just basic public school safety. Again, I live within well, the way the crow flies, I live within maybe a third of a mile of both the high school and Alcott. And I still, after 1 year of asking the school and the town for the simple resolution of how to get to school safely, I still don't have a resolution. The last resolution I was given is Concord Police Department is going to put up cones on one side of Thoreau Street for the school year, I guess. I don't know if they're going to be taken away on the weekends, but there are sporting events on the weekends. I don't know. So I am just, again, one step behind biking safety, and I am just asking for like basic Monday through Friday walking safety to get to school. So I just wanted everybody to be aware that this is still an issue. And while I would love bike safety and so forth, I can't even leave my front door to get to school. So I just wanted to give that plug yet again. And I did see that they have updated Article 8 a little bit to include some verbiage about pedestrian and bike safety, which is great. I don't know what that means. I'm sure the town probably doesn't know what that means. They probably did it to appease, to get the vote. Obviously, it's something we need, but it is a little bit disappointing that there's no plan behind it. As I can see, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to search on the town website, so maybe you guys have heard something else, but really the search function on the town website doesn't work. So doesn't bring up the most recent and updated information. And you really have to click around and search a lot. So again, I don't know if I'm maybe misspeaking because I can't find the information, but there you go. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Okay, so that being the completion of the agenda for.
Can I just?
Oh,
I just wanna
yes,
add
go right
really
ahead.
quick,
Go ahead.
Because.
As a member of the public or as the
Well,
chair?
as a member of the public, because I also attended that
Okay.
select board meeting.
So
and,
Andrea Solomon, member of the public.
I'm a member of the public for now. I just wanted to, it is hard to search things on the website. So
Yes.
what I heard at the select board meeting, and I'm speaking as member of the public, I just heard this at the select board meeting. I have no behind the scenes information, but the town manager was looking to put together, well, she's already put out a Concord e-newsletter, which I think it first went out this week, which is really nice. It kind of highlights every department, the departments probably choose what they want to promote and get the public aware of. But also I think the town manager, from what I understood at the meeting, is looking to put together a list of projects, like top 10 projects in Concord, and where they are, like a progress report on those projects, which would be so helpful because sometimes we're privy to that information on Public Works Commission, but she would like to have something more public facing so that people can go to the website. I don't know if it'll be emailed, it'll probably be part of, some of the news flashes that go out, but like, what, is this in the bidding phase? Is this a project that's been delayed? Is it almost finishing? I mean, there's a lot that goes on, like even in West Concord right now, it's like, is this a new project? Is it part of the old project? Was it delayed because of construction or weather or whatnot? So all that could be very informational. And as far as safety is always an element of road planning. We have had no money for safety. I'm speaking now as a member of Public Works. I should think, we are so excited if this passes that we would have money for safety to really address issues in town. As far as getting kids to school safely, part of that is the school department. We would love to work more with them on that. But we have not listed detailed plans on how to do that because this has not been approved yet. We do not have that money. If no one votes for it or it doesn't pass, we will not get that. And all those plans and hopes for doing better in those areas are gonna be seriously curtailed. So that's why this vote is important. That's why that funding is important. And I really hope that people take it seriously. So I'll just end there.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you very much for being here at this meeting. All right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.